Hey, what's up guys? Sebastian here from greenmusicproductions.com, and you know, it's November, Christmas is coming, but I don't feel the Christmas magic until a new version of Cubase comes out. And let me tell you, today I really feel that Christmas magic because we have a new Cubase version. 9.5 just came out, and let me tell you that 0.5 update is probably my favorite 0.5 update they've had forever. It's packed with really good tweaks and addition to Cubase, so let's dive right in. The first thing that you can probably notice is the UI changed a little bit, and it's small stuff like the line here is a bit brighter. Some layouts are a bit different, like this visibility tab right here has check marks instead of dots. Small things, but hey, it's more visible now, so this is not a big game changer, but it's pretty cool. The first thing I want to talk about is the color themes. It's now possible to change the themes. If you go in under File, Preferences, you now have a color scheme tab right here, and you can browse and try out different colors and see what you like. It's a small tweak, but it's really nice if you want my opinion. I didn't like the default color. I think it was this one. I felt it was a bit too dark, so I went with this one, and you can always choose a custom color right here if you want. You can change the color, the hue, saturation, brightness, all the good stuff. If you don't like certain things, like let's say those lines right here, you feel they're too bright or not enough, you can go under custom colors and change all the individual things. Like let's say in the project area, I can change the grid lines or the cycle region. Same thing for editor and ruler background. So really cool additions if you want my opinion. I really like to customize my DAW, so this is a nice addition for me. Now, one big thing that I noticed as soon as I tried Cubase 9.5 is that it's snappier. It's faster, it's efficient, it's snappier, and even in big sessions, I thought it was a lot snappier, and it was better on the CPU, so that's always a big reason to upgrade in my opinion, and that's because they changed the way of drawing the wave shapes. So it's a lot more efficient now, so if you have a session with a lot of tracks, it should be easier on your CPU, pardon me, and snappier. So that's a really good addition. Another big one that I've been requesting for a while now is 16 insert slots. Now this is mind-blowing just to see that window right here. We used to have 8 inserts, only 6 were pre-faders and 2 were post-faders, and you couldn't change that. Now not only do we have 16 insert slots, but that green line right here, we can move it around. So let's say we want more post fader insert slots, we can move it and have more post, and we can do the opposite if we want. So that's really nice. I'm never gonna run out of insert slots anymore, so that is really cool. I've been requesting that for a while, so thank you, Steinberg. Another big section of Cubase that they updated, and it's been the same for such a long time, is the Metronome. So the click section, basically. If we go under the click section right here, we have the usual activate metronome. They changed the design of the button, but no big deal. And they basically have the count in, which is a pre-roll if you want. And we have the 3 dots right here that you can click on and drag. And as you can see now, we can have click patterns. So if I click on this, a new window appears, and we can select, let's say, how many clicks we want in a bar. So we can have a lot of clicks in a bar if we want. Let's say we have a picky drummer and he's like, oh, I would like to hear 12 click in that bar instead. You can do that really easily now. You have a pattern that you can select right here. If he wants half tempo, you can do that. Double tempo as 6/8 if you want. But if we dive in a little bit more and we go under open metronome setup, that little down arrow right here, we now have a new window for a metronome setup. And this is pretty much the same information that we had before, But now we have two other tabs. The click sounds was a bit limited in the past. We only had 2 tones. You can change the pitch and the volumes of those 2 tones, but now we have 4 tones. We can do whatever we want with those 4 tones because we can change the pitch of them individually. We can change the volume and the master volume of the metronome. And we can even use custom sounds. So let's say I want to use custom sounds. I have presets right here. So let's try clav. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's try something else. Vintage spike. That's cool, but we can choose whatever we want. Let's say our drummer likes to have hi-hat, so we can do that also. Really nice. I'm gonna stick to the original Steinberg click sound because I actually really like it and I'm used to it. Now let's go under click patterns. Here you can design your own patterns depending on the time signature. So let's say right now we're in 4/4. These are the preset that you saw in this little menu before, but you can add some if you want. Let's say I want to add one in 4/4 and design it myself. And now you can choose what tone you want. So this is the first tone. And now I can put the second tone, the third one, and the fourth one. Now it's called Untitled. So if I go under my click patterns, let's press OK. I now have Untitled right here, and it's gonna use my click pattern. Let's press play. So this is what I just created, and it's really easy to do, and you can always modify it if you want right away. So really cool addition. The metronome section needed an upgrade in my opinion, so it's really nice. And if you have a signature track, you can also choose the click pattern depending on the signature that you have here. Let me just show you how it's done. Let's say I add a new one. I click on the plus button and I can change the pattern right there. So really cool. Thank you so much, Steinberg, for this. It's a nice addition in my opinion. Now, as you can see, this section right here has a lot of tabs. We used to have only those 2, and now they added everything that you can usually see on the mix console. So we can now see the control room section right there on the project window, and the meter section. That is really useful for me because I want to see my loudness, and it's now super easy to do. But if we go back to media, as you can see, this design changed a little bit. Now what we can do is we can drag and drop instruments straight from here into the project window. So let's say you want to add a groove agent instrument. You can just grab this groove agent and drop it wherever you want, and it's gonna appear right there. If you want a specific preset, let me just delete this one to show you. I can click on groove agent, go under what library I want. So let's say the regular groove agent library, and I can drag and drop a certain preset. So it's not only gonna load my groove agent, but it's gonna load the preset that I dragged and drop also. Another small tweak here, now we have a file browser instead of having the media bay. What it does is instead of having to scan all of your folders like in the media bay, let me open the media bay by pressing F5 just to show you. You still have the option to scan the folders, but you don't need to scan those folders to access them in the file browser. So let's say, for example, my 3 terabyte hard drive is not ticked, so it's not scanned. So usually in the media bay the result wouldn't show that hard drive. But if I go under the file browser right here, I can access all of those folders and files. And right now I'm in an audio folder, and I can listen to that file right there. Super easy to do. I didn't need to scan it, so it's super fast. I really like that. So once again, it's a small tweak that makes your life a lot easier and faster. So thank you for this. This is really good improvements in my opinion. Another cool thing that they added is in this grid type section right here, they added an adapt to zoom. So what it does, usually you would have a bar, beat, or use quantize, and that would use the information that you have here on the quantize panel. But the adapt to zoom will basically snap to the grid depending on your zoom. So let's say I zoom in a little bit, and now it's only going to snap to the bars that I see right there. If I zoom a bit more, now we can see it's snapping to quarters. If we zoom in even more, now it's snapping to even more precise section. So it's really, really cool. If you're always changing your quantized value or your beats and bar, now you can just use this and never change it again if you want. So that's really useful. Small tweaks again, but really, really welcome addition. Now Steinberg introduced the double precision 64-bit audio processing in their audio engine in Cubase. So what it means, it's a bit complicated. I'm gonna make it really simple for you. Now, if you go under Studio, which used to be Device, by the way, they changed the name to Studio, but that's all that they changed. So it's super simple. It's just a name change. And if you click on Studio and you go under VST Audio System, you now have an option right here. It's called Processing Precision. And we have the usual 32 bits. Cubase used to be in 32-bit, but we can now choose 64-bit. Now, be aware that 64-bit will be a bit heavier on your CPU, but what it does is basically you have 64-bit of precision in your audio engine. So it basically gives you more headroom in Cubase. Some people say it sounds better because it's more precise, but to be honest, I couldn't hear the difference. It's more about the headroom really, because when you have the mixer open, you can see the faders and you can raise the faders as you want, and it's never gonna clip unless the stereo out is clipping, because Cubase in itself has a lot of headroom. But what could clip is the inserts though. If you have plugins that are too hot, they can clip. But now if your plugins support 64-bit audio processing, they're probably never gonna clip because it gives you even more headroom. So this is a big addition just for avoiding digital distortion, mainly on plugins. So yeah, as I said, it's a bit complicated, but the bottom line is if your CPU can handle it, enable it, and you should have more headroom in Cubase. So that's really cool. Now, probably one of my favorite addition that they did is they tweaked the automation in Cubase. As you can see, it looks the same as before, but usually you would have to enable either read or write to be able to draw any automation dots on the automation track. By the way, I opened the automation lane just by clicking this down arrow. You can do that in any tracks. But yeah, as I said, you don't have to enable either of these now. You can just hover the line and the draw tool is going to appear, so you can click. As you can see, the line is cleaner now because you see the color beneath, so it's easier to see. Really cool. And you can draw any lines if you hold the Alt key on your keyboard, and it's Option on Mac if I remember well. You can draw shapes just like that. So yeah, that's a small addition, but what is really amazing is now if you go in between two dots, you can see a new design right there, a new diamond design right there. So if you grab that and you move it around, it created two dots for you. You can lower or raise it freely. So this is more like Pro Tools. You could do that easily in Pro Tools before, but in Cubase, what we had to do is create two more dots if we wanted to do something like that and select them, and it was painful and not practical and try to raise them. But now it's super simple. You just go between any two dots and you can grab this and raise it or lower it. So thank you so much for this. This is amazing. And as usual, you could select them and do all kinds of stuff that we were able to do before. Now another thing that they introduce is the now I'm not gonna pronounce that correctly, but Bezier curve, I think it's called, and it's to have more natural curves between automation dots. So let's say I add a dot right there and I would like to do like a ramp shape. So if you bring it down, you could try to draw a shape, but now we have another dot in between those dots right here. It's not going to appear if the two dots are at the exact same level, but if you move one around, this dot is going to be accessible. So let's try to drag this dot right here. As you can see, you can do curves that are way more natural. You can do different shapes. So now it's ramping down and you can do the opposite. You can move it around freely, and you can reset it by just double clicking on it. So yeah, that's really cool. Let's say I want to do like a skateboard ramp just for fun. Let's try that. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's yeah, it's a lot more natural. That's the bottom line. So you can do that pretty easily now in Cubase. Now for a little tip that is really practical in my opinion. In Pro Tools, let's say, it's super easy if I want to change the volume automation of the exact length of that event. In Cubase, it's a bit harder, but now we can change the tool for the range selection tool. Double click on an event and press down to go on the automation track, and we can now raise that portion, and it's going to be exactly the same length as the event. So this is really cool, and it shows that now also the range selection tool can edit automation the same way as the object selection tool. So that's a really good addition. I really enjoy that. It's just way better now, the automation system. It's way more natural and faster once again. And I'm not done, because they added another thing that I think is really cool. So let's say in a session you use a lot of plugins and you run out of DSP really fast. You say, okay, I can try to put plugins on this event specifically, since I only wanted to affect this event right there. Usually you would have to right click, go under plugins and select it, and it's not practical. And if you wanted to remove that afterwards, you would have to go under the menu there and select plugin history, and it's not practical at all. Now in Cubase 9.5 you can just press F7 and this new window appears. But now when you select an event, this is gonna show what plugins is offline on that event. Let's say I want to reverse that track right there. I can add process reverse. So as you can see, the reverse appeared right here. I have the option to either apply what I just did by pressing apply, or having it to auto apply. So as soon as I do something on a plugin or on a process, it's gonna be applied there. So after the reverse, let's say I want to add reverb. So as you can see, I have now the reverb right there. I see the plugin. It's super clean and sharp. It's automatically applying the reverb to the file because the auto apply is selected. And I can preview it either by pressing play, or I can preview it. Let's say I want to tweak the reverb and I want to hear what I'm doing really fast. I can press the audition button right there. And now while it's playing, it's gonna apply what I'm doing super fast. So yeah, that's really cool. You can do all sorts of stuff like bypass certain effects. Let's say I want the reverse to come after the reverb. I just drag the reverb and bring it up there and it's gonna apply. Let's say I want to add a reverb, but the file is not long enough. I can add a tail in millisecond and tell it to extend the process range. So it's so good now what you can do with this, and you can have a lot of plugins right there, bypass them, move them around, delete them, and it doesn't use your CPU because it's offline on your event. So that is awesome. If you want my opinion, I really enjoy that. So thank you, Steinberg, for this edition. I really like it. For all of you that are always running out of CPU, use this and you're gonna be happy. Now my last big feature that I want to talk about, it's actually not a big feature, but for me it's big. I've been requesting something like this for a while, is they added a modifier function for locating the cursor. And what I mean by that is, usually, let's say you're working on this right here. Let's say I make it bigger. And you want to bring your cursor to here. If I click there, it's not gonna do anything. The cursor is not gonna come here. So I have to go under the ruler and select where I want it to be. Now, if you hold, by default, it's Alt and Shift on PC. If you hold Alt and Shift, you can move the cursor wherever you want without the need to go to the ruler up there. That is really useful. I don't have to go up select where I want, press play. I can just do this. Even when it's playing, I can move it around. Really cool. If you're using video, let's say I open the video player and you have a video track, you can now see where you are in the video by doing this without the need to go in the ruler. You will see where you are and you can locate yourself and say, okay, I want to press play there. Really nice addition. Once again, it's something, it's not like a huge game changer, but for me it makes my life so much more easier, so thank you once again. Now they also change a couple of small things, like some plugin designs, like the tube compressor. It's now a little bit cleaner, it looks better. The design, it's the same plugin basically, but they changed the interface. They also did the same thing for the vintage compressor. So let me just open this one. It looks like a Neve compressor, so that's fun. You always think it sounds better when it looks better, so that's always cool. And they changed the regular compressor to make it look a bit cleaner still. So this was a long video, but there are so many good additions to this version, and it's a 0.5 version, so it's even more stable and snappier, even though they added so many little features like this. I'm really happy about this, and I think it's way worth the price. And I'm not a Steinberg employee. I'm being honest right there. It's probably my favorite 0.5 update. If you enjoyed that video, as usual, click that like button and subscribe. It means the world to me. Thank you guys for watching, and see you in my next video. Bye guys.